not every day you wake up and you find people who wants to help you to become something. I think where we are right now in the world is that everybody wants to this know your worth thing, you know, put yourself first thing, self-love thing. Everybody's all about themselves. And very few people pause and say, hey, why don't you do another thing for somebody else? So I think to have IEG take time the whole year and say, we're gonna empower the young people out there, and you even saw the opportunity to be a part of it, that alone makes us an exceptional few people in this country who are doing really great job. So I think maybe we could give them a big round of applause for. Okay, I hope you can all see here on the board, right? I'm assuming all of us here have been to school. It doesn't matter which one, primary, junior, secondary. You studied in a class before, right? Great job. So you saw a subject called mathematics. How many of you had a very turbulent relationship with mathematics? Most of you. Most of you had a problem with mathematics. Okay, take your right hand and then put it in your heart. And then you say, I promise that I will not panic. Great, thank you. You better have heard yourself. So I'm going to show you these two graphs. Graphs mathematics, ladies and gentlemen, is very simple. It's numbers, 0 to 9, with symbols, divided, additional, and all of that. You combine all of these things together and they give you mathematics. The only thing that happened at school is that we were told it's hard. We were taught it hard way. We even set hard questions for mathematics. And that blocked our minds forever. But life is numbers. Numbers are so important that even when God was creating the Bible, He had to create a book called Numbers. Today you want to get married, where does it start? You need a number, right? Yeah, you can't even get married because you need a date. That date is a number. You're going to have to create a budget for your wedding. That's money. That's what? That's numbers. You want to run a business? That's numbers. There's no way you will ever run away from numbers. Even if you get a job, you're going to be working with numbers. How many people are you working with? How much are you earning? You're going to do budgeting for yourself. So numbers. From this day going forward, start developing your relationship with numbers. Fall in love with numbers. Start with 1 plus 1 from scratch. 2, by asking yourself, what is 1 plus 1? 2. What is that times 2,000? 4,000. What is that minus 16? 3,104. Whatever it is. Get in love with this. So where you are, the life you chose is numbers all the time. Okay? So this is not really complex, it's very simple. So there is a very big difference between, and I'm getting to talking about something very important here, that one of the things that you have to be very sure about in your life, it's what is the value that you have to give to the market, not what is the value that you want to give to the market. I believe all human beings are created by God, and by that very reason, all of us carry a value that we have to be able to share with the world. We are not all going to be entrepreneurs. We are all not going to own businesses. And we live in a time right now where entrepreneurship has been made to be this thing, you know, where if you don't own a business or if you don't read anything in and around stock market and all of that, and if you don't seem to be this person who's saying my dream is to one day own a business, you feel inferior to the world. And that is not true, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? So one thing you have to be very sure about is who are you, what do you have, and what can you add to the world. That's what you are here for. Even if your job is to come and be an accountant, being the best accountant in the world is the greatest thing that you have to do. Trust me, if you perform average at being an accountant as somebody who's supposed to be an accountant, and you perform exceptionally well, you win awards all over the world in business, you have failed your life. You are what people call a successful failure. You get what I'm saying? So when you are an entrepreneur, be an entrepreneur. It's not an easy thing. I'm going to show you why. And I'll tell you a story of my own personal entrepreneurship journey in a bit, in the same graph that I'm going to show you here. And the experiences of entrepreneurship on its own are not so pleasant. I know people who come from corporate, or they come from the business world, they come to talk to you, or the ones you know are always putting on suits. They look nice, they smell nice. So you might want to conclude that business is a fancy, nice thing to do. And that's why a lot of people want to be in this thing. And I'll be honest with you, I want you to pay attention to this graphs, because they're going to help you understand this very thing. If you don't get this one thing, the rest of the things we're going to talk about, there's no need of you paying attention to them anyway. Okay? So there's a big difference between entrepreneurs and business people. The same way there's a very big difference between people in business and people who work in businesses. There's also a big difference between working in the business as a business owner and working on the business as a business owner. You get what I'm saying? So here is what the world does not teach people who want to be in business. We'll call this graph E for entrepreneurs. We'll call this one BP for blood pressure, okay, for business people. Okay? When you start anything in business, especially a business, there's nothing like I've started from zero. I know it sounds motivational and inspiring when you start a business story, you're like, in my head, I started from nothing. I mean like nothing. Does this mean I saw in December already? What does this mean? Oh yeah, there was a guy who was saying he started a restaurant with one single grain of rice. And there's another one who was saying he started the whole poultry with one feather of a chicken. And that could be true. You never know the whole story. Okay? That could be very, very true. The point is, nothing starts from zero. If you look at your life, there's always something around you to start anything with it. God cannot be that careless that He gives you a dream and does not give you one small thing to start with. It could be your laptop, could be a spoon, could be a pot. Now I can't store it. Right? So there's always something to start. So businesses, they do not start here. So this would be the time of how long the business survives, and this will be the money side of it. Okay? When you start here, because you can start in zero, the lifeline of your business gets put somewhere here. This is a very important line. It means the line of the date of birth of your business. So this is where you measure yourself against at all times. Remember how I get? Yeah, you will see more familiar things as you go forward. So when a business starts here, at this starting point here, there is no business on this face of the earth. We start off here, and then it already goes into the profit. Okay? As far as my experience is concerned, all the people that we have mentioned in business, all the people that we've done business with, all the people I followed who are entrepreneurs, all of them share the same story. Is that you invest money today to start a business, immediately you start losing money. At all times. And here's why you do. You put 1,000 kula here. If you don't have 1,000 kula the next day, you are losing that amount of money. No way. Again, because you're not making money, because it takes time to gain customers and all of those stuff. I'm not going to go into that side of business. So it goes down like this at all times. Okay? And this movement, it covers a whole lot of the life of a business, which there are things and questions that you have to ask yourself. There are things you have to get yourself ready for. Because if you don't get yourself ready for those things right at this point, moment, your business will most certainly die. When we did a study in 2017, we found that 85% of businesses in this country die on their first year. I mean, in the world, they say 85% in the next 3 years. Botswana is not 3 years. A year or less. Majority of these businesses are not businesses which were supposed to die, technically speaking. It's because people were running the business, either they didn't get a full grasp of what they are doing, they didn't study the times and the season, they had no skill, whatever, which is why we appreciate things like IED. IED is that important because it's here to make sure that this does not happen to you. This is why it is important for you to take what we learn here very seriously, because it's not just learning because you are learning and it's being taught. This learning here is not a learning for certificate, if you get it. That would be nice, but it's for your work. But the learning is, you will write the exam out there in your business. And it's your life, it's your time, it's your money, it's your resources at stake that you will lose. Remember again, I want to correction yes, in my business. Okay? So you have to learn these things because they are very important. Business people and entrepreneurs out there, most of them expect to start a business here and it shoots into the profit. There's that hard cover aspiring entrepreneur has. You can family diagram or during the restaurant that how and then all of that you are like total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is gonna be this much. So I was selling this number of fat cakes a day, and then you see you make 8,400 a day, you're like Jesus. 8,400 times 80 days, you are seeing that you are making 200,000 a month. According to the hard cap. And you are like, but I earn 5,000 in my workplace. I don't like quit my job and focus on selling fat cakes because I'll make 200,000 a month. And then there's this thing that comes into from your inside that a lot of people feel for the first time. That joy and excitement from God, that feels like confirmation to you that you really need to quit your job and start a business. An amazing feeling, great feeling. You know, when you are walking around, you feel like people don't get you. So when you are looking at a rich man. You quit your job, you cook the first cakes like my mom, and then you go and sell them. 400 heads of fat cakes. That's $400 a day, right? And then you put your container by the place where you wanted to sell. And then you find other folk who are selling samosas and bakiwa, hunger busts, stuff. You know, there's just things on the world I didn't know, okay, no problem. But also of cakes. And then you are lucky to get one guy to get 2, 3, 4, 5. 10 o'clock is the clock. It's just about to be time for lunch. But when you've only sold 50 of them, you still have 350 more. 12 o'clock hits, and you start to ask yourself questions. What did I do wrong? Can you tell me what did the woman do? Can you? She cooked too many? Anybody else?
Nothing. The business was not on that day.
Well, I didn't ask. I know someone from there. The business was what? Okay, just highlight with your hand and then keep talking. Then I'll know it's you speaking. Okay.
I think she didn't do a proper market research.
She didn't do a proper market research. You were to say?
I was supposed to say we
Didn't
didn't do a proper market research.
do proper market research. Yes, lady?
Okay, maybe that was in the business at the beginning.
That was not business.
Yes.
But there were no people to buy the cakes. No, I don't want I want something greenish and leafish. Okay. You want to try? There's this answer I am looking for. Higher expectations. That's an interesting one also. Anyone want to guess? Yes.
I think maybe she decided to quit her job too fast.
Too early.
Able to quit the job without knowing the outcomes of the business.
That's a great, interesting part. Anybody else? I wonder how long was it in Kenya. I call on that in Chisa Haka, Karabo, you how sure and make your Miss Odin Shock as the poor and how we develop. When you let out, how interesting, what, or when people are like Alamalo, I don't know if I don't know. And you begin to start imagining the face of your mother, your uncle. And then you're like, I won't say it. Please, if you are thinking anything, say it. Okay? Yes, sir. She counted her chickens before they hatched. That's what not happened. Yes. Counting chickens before they hatch. Yes, gonna try that?
I could say she didn't consider the competition because you mentioned that.
Are you showing faces of these people?
Pardon?
No, I'm just talking to the chicken guy.
Oh, okay. she did not consider the competition. You mentioned that the people there were samosas and sandwiches and all of that, right? And she just concentrated on what she wanted to do, and that was it.
Great. Any other thoughts? Yes.
I think she never tested her product because if she made a batch of 400 for the first run, in my opinion, that's too much.
May I tested the product or the waters? The next opportunity that came was I was attending an event by Sekiti Masila Foundation. And at this event, there was Sekiti Masila himself. As former President of South Africa, Shalma Mhlante. There was CEO of Metropolitan, I forgot his name. There was the FNB CEO at the time. And when we were there, so people were being asked to comment about, I can't really remember, oh yeah, why government doesn't seem to listen to the ideas of young people, something of that nature. So people began to lift their hands. You know, those kind of conferences, people speak English. So when they bring a microphone like this, they don't say, good evening everyone. Actually, I just wanted to ask you about what do you think are the limitations of us not being able to harness our demographic dividend? What is that? Don't you consider it's time for us to take a holistic approach on this matter? Every time I was there, the words they were mentioning, it was my first time hearing that. But I had an ask. I don't know what happened, but I remember I saw my hand on top of my head. I didn't raise it. Okay? And sadly, at the same time, there was an usher who was holding a microphone right next to me. Good girl, don't wake you. And all of a sudden, the mic is on my face. That took that microphone. I didn't know microphones were heavy. First of all, so I took it, stood up, and then something sort of like set on me. And instead of asking a question, I turned around and answered all the questions that were asked. Seriously, there's a video. Go onto the Sekitino Masila Foundation website or the Facebook page, you will find it. And I answered these people's questions. I don't know what I said, but one thing I remember is at the end of my answer, everyone was taking their hands. I'm telling you. So never sit on that thing you are thinking because you think it's not correct, you don't know the English, or maybe you just doubting yourself. This is not an exam. Whatever you're thinking, let it out. Okay? You never know what will happen after that. Right? So let's continue. So this is like the nature of the experiences of an average entrepreneur who starts anything new. Right? You have this amazing, great idea. The only thing that you know is that idea, how it's going to function. There's like in my book, I was trying to talk about this. There's two sides of a business. There's what we call the craft of the business. I always talk about it. And then there's the business of the craft. So the craft of the business is, in the case of, let's say, I'm in the water business, like Aquafio. My craft is the bottle and packaging this water. I know exceptionally how to make the product. I'm good at mastering the craft of my business. But this is not the business. This is the business of making this type of products in the market. So a lot of people, they know the craft. They know how to fit cake, to make it spongy and not, doesn't have too much oil, those things. They know those stuff. And they prepare that part of that. But they don't prepare the business of running stuff like that. And there's nothing wrong with selling 400 heads of fat cakes in the first day. The thing is, you try it. The purpose of that experience is so that you pause and research, and then try to look down on a lot of things that you did, take a step back and research again and quantify and see what did you do wrong. There's nothing wrong with it. It's called getting the business model right. Okay? So when you talk about a business model, I know it sounds like a very fancy word. Like I always hear people in meetings. But I know a thing, you know. I don't like throwing names and terms to show that I know stuff. No, I don't do that. So I meet people who would inbox you, man, I want to ask you something. What do you do? And then you tell them, like, oh, so what's the model? Excuse me, what? So what's the business model? Then I give them a wrong answer, and they're like, oh, okay, wow, that's a great model. And I'm like, wait, do you know what a model is? And then I realize they don't know. It's just people like you know, having intelligent conversations. Okay? Business model is not a fancy thing. Question is there a product or a solution for the market? Is there a market for the product? Do you know the market? And do you know the customer profile? For example, when I this guy came to my office and he said, do you know how many dogs do we have in this country? And I was like, I don't know. It was my first time to think about it. And then he said, we have 3.9 million dogs in Botswana. But for me, I can't say yes or no to it. I don't know. Can you guess how many dogs we have in the country? I can guess. So he said, do you know how many of these dogs are cared for properly in terms of food? I said, I don't know. Because I thought our dog, I never cooked for that dog. I've never seen anyone cooking for that dog. But I know it is a breed. I just don't know it. Okay? So imagine that's the experience of so many dogs around this country. So I was like, okay, you had my curiosity, now you have my attention. Tell me what's going on. And then he said, I want to make dog food. And this is how the dog food will be like, and begin to explain the whole thing. More like the whole thing is not soya, it's also not meat, it's cost this much to make, and all of those stuff. Interesting conversation. Then he said, my market is 3.9 million dogs in the country. And then he began to say, I don't even have to sell this thing for $100. Even if I sell one cooler of this, I'm making 3.9 million every time I sell a can. So imagine if it was 10 million. We are dropping billions within a short period of time. So I used to have this side of me which gets excited about these things, like those numbers. Like, wow, let's do it now. Okay? Then I have developed this side of, hold on, wait a minute. Is your market really 3.9 million dogs? How many of those dogs people cook for? How many of those dogs are allergic to your food? Do you guys know dogs are allergic to things? Yeah. How many in reality are you really going to sell to? So the fact that people can eat what you cook doesn't mean they will eat. So to have this size of ambition of saying this is the people, this is the profile, this is the customer base, but this is the profile of the people who actually, when you downsize your market, this become the real people that are going to buy the things. Try this. Watch everyone who advertise on Facebook. You say, hey guys, I'm going to invest in Molepolole. You get 5,000 likes, 1,000 shares, and 600 people who say, we're there. And then the event comes. Only 5 people show up. As authors, you post books, and then they fly all around Facebook. It becomes a trendy thing. It's like, I want to go. When they arrive, call me. The books arrive the next day. And so I say, as per your comment yesterday. Yes, your book. Is it the one? No, Tagua. That's fine. Those things happen. Just because somebody shows an interest, it's a need. But is it that do they fit the customer target market profile? So the reason why it comes to ask those questions: is there a product? Is there a market? Is that market available? Is there this? By saying is there this? There's nothing wrong with targeting 200 dogs in the country. Nothing wrong.